Hey guys, what's going on? Anthony here with Pistons Talk. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. I thought we could do something a little bit different on this YouTube channel. I haven't done one of these in so long. Maybe I'll start doing them more often. This is going to be a reaction video to James Edwards III, most recent article over at The Athletic. And he says how the Detroit Pistons can improve their roster through trades and NBA free agency. Now, I saw this article this morning on my way to work, and Pistons Twitter did not like this article whatsoever. And you guys will probably, I don't know if you guys will like it. I think some of you would like the trade proposal, the free agency moves. Some will, some won't, but we're going to get into it. I'm not going to read this whole article. I'm going to skim through the important parts because there are some tidbits in here that you guys probably want to know. Okay, so let's get into it. So, James basically says Pistons has finished a 4-year rebuild, fresh off one of the worst records, not only in the NBA, but also in franchise history, and they had an unforgettable 28-game losing streak. Yeah, I think if you're a Piston fan this season, and you watched all 82 games, we should get compensation from somebody. Like, we watched all 82 games of meaningless basketball. Like, I think the first week was the only meaningful basketball that the Pistons played. They were 2-1. Dan Burke, don't know what happened to him. Hope he's well, but just like, hey, I'm out. Good luck. After that, it's when the losing streak happened, and then it was crazy. Let's get back to the article, though. I do think Pistons fans do deserve compensation, though. James goes on to say that it'll likely take aggressive moves and a little luck, and opportunities are there. Whoever is named the new president of basketball operations will have their handful. And he also goes on to say that the Pistons will have the best odds of landing the #1 pick in the 2024 NBA draft. Also goes on to say many evaluators and executives are down on this draft. But he also says that this year's draft pick could come with value. I think it's interesting because we've interviewed James before a couple times on this YouTube channel and on the podcast, and we had the opportunity to interview Keandre, who doesn't really have a favorite NBA team. He has favorite NBA players, but he's an NBA scout and a talent evaluator, and he was pretty down on the draft too, just from like my understanding of talking to him and asking him about prospects. He wasn't really too particularly high on anyone, but I think even he said this is a weak draft. So be interesting to see what James did cook up with this trade. He also goes on to say that the Pistons also have roughly $60 million in cap space, and furthermore, all signs are pointing towards Cade Cunningham getting an extension this summer. That's really big. James does this in his articles all the time, and that's why I subscribe. Is he'll leave little tidbits. So if you guys read that again, the Pistons roughly have $60 million in cap. Furthermore, all signs are pointing towards Cade Cunningham getting extended this summer. Now, Cade can sign up to $225 million with the current extension, right? And I think that's the right decision. If you're the Pistons, you should lock down Cade while you can. I know some people, like Cade's going to, reject the rookie contract extension. He's not going to reject $225 million. He's going to sign the extension. Now, whether or not he requests a trade, that is yet to be determined. You never really know. But I think that's why James wrote this article about the Pistons being aggressive in the trade market and free agency. Because, you have to get better eventually. And that's what this article is trying to do. Even though it's just it's a little exercise. So he goes on to say that he doesn't think that the Detroit Pistons will draft anybody. So in this instance, he's saying that the Pistons do win the lottery. They get the first overall pick. They're not going to draft an Alex Sarr or a Zach Richey or anyone like that. What his proposal would be is the Pistons trade their 2024 first, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren to the Brooklyn Nets for Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, and a 2025 first-round pick via Phoenix, top 14 protected. So let's get into that because that is why you guys are here. The trade. The trade that James did put in this. So you're getting rid of Jaden Ivey. You're getting rid of Jalen Duren. And you're getting Mikal Bridges, which I think a lot of Pistons fans have their eye on just because Brooklyn's in a weird spot. I would assume they're going to rebuild sooner than later because they don't want to give their picks to I want to say the Rockets own their picks. I don't know how they do, but they do somehow. They're probably going to want to get something of value for Mikal Bridges. Now, does Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren and this year's first do it? I don't know. I really don't. I mean, Houston offered, what was it, Jalen Green and Sengun in some picks, and they said no. Memphis the year before offered, I want to say it was like 4 late first-round picks. They said no. I don't really know what Brooklyn's going to do. I'd assume they're going to rebuild sooner than later. In this instance, they're getting 2 high-level lottery picks. They're getting Jaden Ivey, who I think will flourish in Brooklyn because they don't really have a primary ball handler. I think Jaden Ivey will have the ball in his hands, and that's where he thrives, and I think it would be a really good fit for him to go play in Brooklyn. And Jalen Duren, I think Duren would thrive in Brooklyn as well. I think both of them would get a lot of opportunities to grow because in this situation, I think Brooklyn will rebuild. I do. I don't think they have a championship level roster. I don't think they're a roster where they're content with flirting with the play-in. I think all signs kind of tell you Brooklyn's probably going to rebuild within the next 6 to 12 months. Just my opinion anyways, just from me being a Piston fan. I could be wrong, but you're getting Mikal Bridges if you're the Pistons, who, again, I think a lot of you guys like. Dorian Finney-Smith, who's a very good defender, and a 2025 first-round pick via Phoenix, top 14 protected. Now, I think the Phoenix pick, to me, is kind of underrated in the sense where it's like, we really don't know what's going to happen with the Phoenix Suns. Especially in the playoffs right now, you guys. They're down 0-2. They're not going to make it out of the first round. I don't think so anyways. I think they're just going to be a first-round exit, first-round sweep against the Timberwolves. It's just not going to happen. And they have one of the highest salaries in the NBA with having Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and others, right? That pick might actually turn into something good if you're Detroit. But that's the trade James had. Personally, I would hate to trade Ivey and Duren. But if I did have to trade them, I think this would be a trade that I'd be upset at first, but I could get used to it. Let me know what you guys think of the trade, though. This is the trade that James did propose. Ivey, Duren, for Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, and a 2025 first, top 14 protected from Phoenix. Now, obviously, this article does go into free agency as well, so we're going to get into that. I'll just kind of skim through all this stuff that James did write about, Ivey and Duren, and because I don't really think you guys would care. So he goes into free agency. So after that trade, the Pistons would still have $34 million in free agency, right? And he says, following a hypothetical trade, the Pistons no longer need to target Tobias Harris, a name that has long linked Detroit. Bridges, Finney-Smith, Thompson, Fontecchio can all toggle between the forward spots. After a reluctant moving on from Duren, the Pistons still need to address the center position. And they need someone who's a positive defender at the end and a legitimate lob threat for Cunningham. So James has the Detroit Pistons targeting a free agent this summer, Nick Claxton. So Claxton's only 25 years old, right? And if you guys listen to Michael Scotto's podcast, Hoops Hype, James had mentioned possibly the Pistons could go after Nick Claxton, which he's mentioned Nick Claxton twice. So it makes me think that there is some legitimate interest from the Pistons of targeting Claxton. I personally like Nick Claxton. He's a lob threat, like James mentioned. He can protect the rim, and he does give Cade a lob threat. So you would still have $34 million in cap space in this, hypothetical trade and situation. I think it would be a good move because Claxton's still young enough where he can grow with the young core, and you have a mixture of, vets that could help this team win. Now, going into the roster, the Pistons basically could have a pretty fun roster. I also kind of skipped over this. I apologize for that. He also said the Pistons could go after DeLon Wright, former Piston. Doesn't think he'll really demand too much. And he also says that the Pistons could go after Thomas Bryant, a low-end center with the Pistons. And what's really interesting is Thomas Bryant and Isaiah Stewart are actually pretty good friends. There's a connection there as well. So you're adding another center depth piece who I've liked Thomas Bryant from afar. He's actually a pretty good center. You could probably get him pretty cheap for the money, though. So looking at the roster, for the guards, he has Cade, Marcus Sasser, Quentin Grimes, and DeLon Wright. The wings in this situation would be Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, Simone Fontecchio, and Asar Thompson. Bigs would be Isaiah Stewart, Nick Claxton, and Thomas Bryant. Yeah, man, this is weird because, if you look at the roster, you're looking at the starting five, right? You could possibly have a starting five. If you were to trade Jaden, Ivey, and Jalen Duren, your starting five would most likely be Cade, Marcus Sasser. See, this is weird because you could get into a lot of different combinations on the wings. I'm assuming Mikal Bridges starts it. Small forward. And power forward, you could put Finney-Smith if you want. You could also put someone at Fontecchio if you want more shooting. Or you could put Asar if you want a lockdown defender out there. What would the starting five be? Cade, Marcus, Mikal. I'll just say if they want offense, it would be Cade, Marcus, Mikal, Fontecchio, Claxton. You can get really creative with this rotation because I think there's an instance you could start Asar at the 3 and Mikal at the 4. You could start, Finney-Smith if you want to. I think it gives this type of trade scenario gives the Pistons a lot of flexibility on the wings because Mikal Bridges, Finney-Smith, Simone Fontecchio, and Asar Thompson, you could really play with a lot of matchups because all of these wings have strengths and weaknesses, and you can kind of exploit that against opposing teams. And obviously for the bigs, Nick Claxton, in my opinion, is going to be starting big. And I think Thomas Bryant and Isaiah Stewart would fight for the backup spot. I really do. But I personally think this would be a pretty good roster. Now, is this a top 8 seed team? I don't know. But I do think that this would get fans, interested back into it. Now, if this is a trade Brooklyn would even do. But let me know what you guys think of this trade proposal from James Edwards, free agency proposal, what the Pistons could possibly do this summer. I will talk to you guys down there. Like always, hope you guys are staying safe. Take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.